Hi, everyone. Welcome to Menopause Chats. I am very honored today to have our guest. So, Joy is joining us today, who is going to chat with us a little bit about her experience with menopause. So, thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, I will say that I've been kind of waiting 20 years to talk about this. I'm 76 now, so it's been a while since I went through menopause, but it was such a powerful and significant experience in my life. And at that time, nobody was talking about it at all. So it was a shock to get into it and discover things that happened. And I learned a lot about myself and things that I would love to be able to pass on to other people and in support because it is such a powerful experience that all women go through.
Yeah, if we're lucky enough, right? If
Yes.
we're lucky enough to make it this far, we'll experience it. And yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a little bit of a shift in, I feel like I'm in Gen X, and I think the Gen X generation is really being like at the forefront of like, no, we are talking about this. Like, we're not being silent about it. Nobody told me about this. What's happening? So
Yes.
I appreciate that, my counterparts are also there's, contemporaries are also speaking out. Because like, I'll ask my mom, like, how was your experience? And, I don't know.
Ah,
And,
well, my mother had a nervous breakdown,
oh my, yeah,
when she went through it, and but nobody talked about it.
great. Or
I
maybe
didn't.
even said it was because of that, right? Because it was related to
I
hormones.
somehow I figured it out,
Yeah,
but I don't remember there being a direct
right,
conversation, certainly not from my mother,
right.
about what happened. And
And probably not from her doctor.
yeah, well, not even my doctor.
Yeah, right.
I mean, when I was knew something was going, something's not right, and I was very emotional, and something just felt really off, and I went for my annual gynecological visit, and I had a woman doctor, and she gave me some hormone tests and said, "Oh yeah, you're in perimenopause." That was it.
See you later.
That was it. See you later.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I left the appointment and I kind of went, well, what does that mean? And I was, kind of clueless enough at the time to not ask. And then I started doing research and I talked to my own doctor about it and she put me on hormone replacement. But it was estrogen and progesterone, which was great for a while. It really did make a difference. But then after time, I started, every time I took the progesterone, I felt like I was losing my mind. And in fact, even before went on to anything, the first thing I did was that I started having margaritas at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I
Which
don't know
certainly can
why.
help.
I don't know why, but it was like I just started craving, and I wasn't like I was used to
Yeah.
drinking on a daily basis or anything. But I just was craving a margarita. And so that's where I started with calming myself. But then eventually I did get on hormone replacement and it helped for quite a while.
And would
And then
that
it
have
just,
been around the time where it was still a little controversial to be?
yeah, well, it wasn't that common. And then there was the uh, Premarin, I think it was called. And it was like, I didn't want to take that. It was taken from cow something.
Or I think was it horse urine? Was it those
Horse
ones?
urine or
Yeah.
and it's like, and I did discover bioidentical
Mm,
hormones, so that's what I was willing to go on.
yeah.
But then every time I took the progesterone, I felt like I was losing my mind, and I started looking for a different gynecologist because I just like, my gynecologist, no, you have to take both. And I went through three gynecologists before I found a male gynecologist. And he took me off of the pills and put me on a patch,
Mm.
but just the estrogen. And I was fine. And when I went back to my regular doctor, who was not a gynecologist, but my regular doctor, and she was like, "You can't do that." And later on, there was a big, huge study done that showed that because she thought you would end up be susceptible to having cancer or heart
Right.
issues.
And that's what I was thinking is that study in particular, which now they've shown to it was flawed.
It
But
was
at
flawed.
the time, that was like it caused a generation of folks to not go on any sort of hormones at all
Right,
that time.
right. Yeah, it was a very interesting. So this is part of my thing that I was really interested in being on your show is that it is to help women to really take charge of their own experience and to trust themselves and to really, get to know your body. And there's other things too that I want to talk about, but that was one that I thought was so important. And that in society, I was so angry when this all started happening because no one had ever talked to me about it. And we weren't taught about our bodies as women. I mean, I was thrown in the fourth grade into a class about menstruation,
And pregnancy.
not even knowing anything because I was physically developed for my age.
Mm,
But nobody, really talked to me about it. They just had me watch this video. My mother never talked to me about it. So I think it was just so much of a taboo,
right.
especially in certain cultures. Um, and so I think it's great that there is more about it now. And I think there needs to be even more because it is a very powerful experience. And when I was having hot flashes and I was in an elevator sweating, and this woman turned to me and said, "They're power surges."
Ah.
And
Nice
that helped a
reframe,
lot. That
right?
helped a lot.
You're like, thank you. Thank you for that.
Yes.
When you say like learning to be in charge of your own experience, what does that look like for you, or what advice would you give to folks?
Well, one is to trust that whatever you're going on in your body is happening for a reason, but don't just take somebody because they are a doctor that they are the authority. We have a culture, especially in the West, where whoever's the authority in the room, we kind of tend to, especially when we've been trained to give over our power to the authority, whether it's a man or a woman, but to question it and to do your own research. And so I did a lot of research. Back then, we didn't have quite as much available to us as we do now. And now there's a lot, and to see what's out there because we need to be able to trust our own sensibility and to recognize that not everybody knows everything, even if they are educated in that field. And so that was one thing. And the other had to do with the emotional experience that I had that was profound because I did have a huge amount of anger. Um, and fortunately, I was together enough at that age, finally, that I knew how to behave in public. I wasn't out, yelling at people in the streets or anything, but I certainly felt like it. And my husband, and I didn't yell at him, but he would, God bless him, he was witness to quite a few spewings in private. And what I came to realize is that when we go through such a big hormonal change, and it's not just a hormonal change, it is a profound change in our role of who we are as women in the world. And when we're going through that change, it's going to bring up what's underneath the surface.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a lot of buried anger
Yeah.
over the years. I was a good girl growing up, and I was taught to behave. And even though I felt very disconnected from my family, I had a lot of that conditioning of the culture that I grew up in, very conservative. And and I was, horrified that anybody would see all of the stuff that was in me. And so I started learning how to be present with my anger and not just being spewing, not just going into a raging fit over something, but to recognize maybe this is a symptom of something deeper. And so I intentionally started journaling. I learned some tools and techniques about how to express my anger. I actually went on retreat and spent a few days in a place where I could be with myself and in nature And I had learned to do this meditation where I would picture people across from me or situations across from me, I would imagine them there, and then I would just express whatever it is that I felt like expressing with all of the energy. I was fortunately in a place where I could do that out loud. And it's good to do it out loud to get that out through your voice because your voice is really important. And when we go through menopause and we're going into our later years, and there's a lot of them, thank God. For me, there has been, and many more to come, but where I can be uh, expressing myself and contributing to the world. And I had to move through all the anger that I had. And a lot of it was around the conditioning that I had to go through as a female in our society that says that as a woman you are liberated and you are free, but in truth didn't have the power and didn't have the authority through society's eyes to be able to express my opinion. And so getting a place where I could express my anger and with the intention to release it, with harm to none. I would start the meditation with harm to none so that I could get that out at my family, my parents individually, society, at God at one point. I was expressing some energy there, and it was liberating. And it taught me a lot about how to be present and honor the anger that I had because it was there for a reason.
And it sounds like such a powerful tool. I know for myself, like anytime I voice, anger is not something that I normally have, but like, frustration or fears or worries and fears are more of my on my plate.
Uh-huh.
Expressing them out loud, it sort of helps to diffuse them or give them less power, like if but keeping them in my head helps me ruminate on them, not on,
Yes.
but expressing them out loud, whether it's to no one, to a journal, but out loud still, or to, to my husband or to a friend, it really does kind of, it's for me, it's like help sort of like almost dissipate it, completely.
It does dissipate it because emotions and I got very involved in learning about
Yeah, I was
emotions.
just going to ask you how this informed your work.
It was part, yeah. I mean, I was already on the path of personal growth and recognizing that I was a very emotional person. I'm a highly sensitive person, and it really informed me of the power of expressing our feelings. I have actually ultimately became a somatic therapist and then an emotion educator. I have created a whole system about experiencing and being present and self aware around emotions and then expressing them. And what I've come to really believe and understand is that emotions are an information system and they happen through sensations in the body. They communicate to us through our body. So when we're feeling anger, we know it's very different than fear because each of these emotions have a very specific purpose or message, core message that they're bringing. And so when we can feel them and express them in a safe environment, which may be journaling, it may be out loud with yourself or with a therapist or good friends or a partner that you have that safety with, it releases that energy. And sometimes we don't fully understand it until we speak it. And when we speak it, we can have awarenesses, we can have recognitions of, oh, this anger I'm feeling. I thought it was about what that person did, but what I realize as I speak it out loud, there is a conditioning from my past that tells me there's something wrong with me. And that's what I'm really angry about because there's nothing wrong with me. There's
Yeah.
just this belief.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've always heard too, is like, someone can't make you angry. Like you are reacting to something, right? Like it's not like this person, they may have done something, people do stuff, but like it's really about your reaction to the things that they've done.
Yes, and it is also a boundary setter. One of the ways when because a lot I really believe that we also use anger as a coping mechanism in a way, as a way to diffuse other feelings. you may feel powerless, or you may feel shame or some other difficult feeling. And the anger is there as a kind of defense against that feeling.
My
But
go-to is
some,
humor. That's, it's same purpose, but humor.
yes, humor is very helpful.
I don't know. Well, I mean, not if you're using it to mask.
No, not if you
Yep.
use always a mask.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So there's a difference between what I call defensive anger and clean anger. And clean anger is that energy that comes out that says, no, this is not okay with me. So when I got angry when I was in menopause, I was saying no to society that says my body and my value as a person is not equal to men or to authority, or, we've been told we're equal, but we have not been treated equal. And we're still not fully treated equally, right? So that anger that comes up and says no, that is a healthy form of anger. But we have to be in tune with ourselves inside to recognize, is that what's really happening? Or is there some part of me that feels scared or that feels shame and I don't like that feeling? And so I'm getting angry as a defense against that.
Well, I remember what the quote was. Someone said, "No one can, no one can drive you crazy unless you give them the keys."
Ah, yes, yes. And it is about a sense of autonomy
Mhm.
and our own self authority and our own self leadership that I think is something that's very important for women to be able to develop.
Yeah. And I think, hopefully people, because I think also back when you were going through menopause, even, well, it depends because where you live, it might have been okay. But like, I grew up out east and like therapy, nobody, like, you didn't talk about going to therapy. People didn't get help. And nowadays, and particularly when I lived in California, I used to joke that like in California, people are, like in other parts of the country, it's like, oh, you have a therapist? What's wrong with you? And in California, they're like, you don't have a therapist? What's wrong with you? So for me, it's like I think there's the stigma even around seeking out help has also gone away, which is helpful. Then people can
Yes,
learn how to better manage their emotions,
yes,
better. And I've always heard the phrase of sort of like emotions or energy in motion. And you've mentioned that it's like it's keep
yes,
something in, it needs your somatic therapy probably talks about the,
yes.
making sure you're moving that through and not because if you keep it in, it's going to manifest somewhere.
It will. It will show up as illness or accidents or dysfunctional behavior. It will show up because it's still hanging around waiting for you to acknowledge it because it's there to serve you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's there to serve you.
And so if people are dealing with anger, because certainly it comes up in these conversations that, through the menopause, because that's certainly menopause rage can come up for folks.
Yeah,
Again, wasn't my experience, but again, everybody's experiences are unique.
totally. Yeah,
Menopause snowflake, everything's just everyone's completely different.
yeah.
But, there are some things that show up, I guess, more often than others. So if someone's feeling that sort of menopause rage, what would be your recommendation to them for helping to acknowledge it, and move it through the body?
Right. Okay. Because it is physical. It is a physical sensation. Well, certainly the expressing it in a safe way, journal writing, or someone you trust as a friend where you can express the energy of it, but also to just be able to be in charge of your own physical experience. And one of the tools I love to teach is it's called the three balls technique, where you simply put your attention on the balls of your feet. And when in qigong, there's a premise that where your attention goes, so goes your energy. So if it is energy in motion, which I believe it is, it's contracting, like fear and anger are contracting emotions. Joy is an outward moving energy. So it's about what kind of flow that is. Sadness may also come up, and that's also in moving inward, but it's a slower vibration. So to come into your body and to be able to calm your nervous system so that you can be more present with whatever it is that's going on in the message, if you put your attention on the balls of your feet, it will start to pull the energy down because when we're in our thing, we're all up in here, and your ovaries. If you were a man, I would say testicles, but since we're talking to women here, your ovaries. So you put your attention on your ovaries, and you can even do this right now as you're listening, and then your eyeballs. So it's not efforting, but it's just an awareness of your eyeballs, awareness of your ovaries, and the balls of your feet. And when you do that, what you're doing is you're allowing the flow of energy, grounding with your feet, connecting to your power center, or what's called the dantian in the martial arts, below the belly, or below the belly button, down in that lower part of your where your ovaries are. And then your eyeballs, so you're in your mind state of awareness, but not spinning in your brain.
Mhm.
And it connects this whole so that you're a whole person. And when you can calm your nervous system in this simple way, then you can be present with the vibration or the energy. Is that anger still there? If it is, what is that saying? It might, hormones are hormones, and they're going to have an effect on your emotions. Is this just a hormonal thing, or is there something else in me that wants to be expressed?
Yeah, and it's what I like about that practice is you can do it anywhere and people don't necessarily know you're doing it, right?
Exactly.
Doesn't require a
Exactly.
lot, it's just like if you're in a meeting and someone, you get sort of triggered by something somebody said, it's like you don't even have to be standing, you can sit and do this and
Exactly. That's one of the things I love about it too. And even if you can't quite get to the whole thing, if you just feel your feet on the ground, the balls of your feet in your shoes, putting that a bit of awareness on that will help the energy to start to flow. Yeah.
Yeah, I always I'll tell people like to have like a rock or something they can like be tactile with, right? Like to get yourself out of your head of like at least or stress ball, whatever, like something that's like tactile.
I have
Yeah,
crystals.
I do too, but I was
I
like
have
sitting in a different
crystals. I
spot.
have
But
stones.
yep,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, I do the same. I had they're just on the other side of this. But like a
And the
little.
tactile thing, there's a thing called, I'm just learning about positive intelligence.
Mhm.
And one of the things that they teach is, when you're stressed and when you're worried or whatever, you just come into something that's tactile and that what that does is it pulls the attention away from that spinning brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone else I follow talks about like just looking around the room and naming five things.
Hmm.
So it's just like again, you're getting yourself out of that like your mind spinning. It's like, okay, I see a picture, I see, the heater,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to be like, okay, and just which is just enough, to
It's a pivot.
maybe shift. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
a pivot from going down that
Because it can be so
path.
easy to do that, especially with all the stuff happening in our world right now. It can be really,
Right.
really easy to just keep going down that, which doesn't help us, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, and you can't stop an emotion. You can't control your emotions. You can't stop them from happening, but you can be in dominion of your own experience of them because they're not meant to run the show.
Yeah.
They're not meant to be in charge. They're there as a servant.
And sometimes it's the reframe, right? It's a power surge versus a hot flash, right?
Yeah.
I love, like, I've had people tell me this, like the idea of like excitement and nervousness, like, are the same feel, like your body feels it the same way, but one has more of a negative connotation and one has more of a positive, like, oh, I'm excited about this versus like, oh, I'm nervous about this.
Well, just what you just did.
Yeah.
Excitement is outward
Yeah.
moving energy, and fear is inward moving energy. And fear, see, this labeling of emotions as negative is something I'm on a mission to dispel.
Okay, great. I'm glad I'm giving you this opportunity.
Because when we label it as negative, we don't want anything to do with it. We
Yeah.
don't want it. We don't want to experience it. The emotion itself is not negative. It's our inability to manage it, to cope with it, to understand it, or to regulate it that creates a negative experience. It's not the emotion itself that is negative. And so I really harp on this in my classes and in one of my
Sounds like I need to
coaching
sign up
clients.
for it. No.
It is just, it's like, and so that because if we, the more we can learn to be present with all of our emotions, the more wisdom we have because our emotions are they're directly connected to our intuition. They are there for a purpose, a beneficial purpose. Fear and anger are our survival emotions. We need fight or flight. If you're in a situation where your life is threatened, you need to be able to act faster than you can think. So we need this response at the ready at all times. But in our daily life, for most of us, thank God, although for many more in the world right now, their life is threatened or their livelihood is threatened. So it's totally natural and beneficial for that emotion to come up. You just don't want the emotion to control the situation. You want to go, oh, yeah, I'm feeling fear. I need to pay attention. That's fear's primary message when your life is not threatened is pay attention. Anger's message is somebody's crossed a boundary. Some boundary has been crossed. We need to stop this. So each of these core emotions have some kind of fundamental message for you. And then it's your role, your job, uh, to be in charge of that so you can make a conscious choice about what you're going to do about that situation. That's where our power lies.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you for that reframe of like, no, it's not negative. Like,
it,
it's
it,
just it just is.
it is. It
Yeah.
just is.
Mm.
Yeah.
And my reaction to it might be negative.
My reaction to it, and again, in that judgment gets in our way. The judgment of the
Oh, I
emotion,
shouldn't feel this. And
the
then
judgment,
you get into the
exactly.
shoulds, you know.
That's yeah. Oh, I shouldn't be angry. I mean, I grew up in a household where, anger was not. That's why I had a pre-ulcer stomach in elementary school.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got in the habit of suppressing that anger. So when it started to come out, it terrified me. I was terrified of my own
You were
anger.
the good girl, right? Like, and good girls
Right.
don't get angry. Because
That's
then you would
right.
be heard and you would be seen, and oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So it took a while, but thank God I made a commitment to it. Just like joy, I didn't know how to be joyful either. It's not just like, oh, I don't call joy a negative emotion, but I didn't know
Yeah.
how to be joyful because I was so suppressed. I was a very serious person too. I had to train myself because um, the thing is, change is uncomfortable and we get in habits of behaving. So even if you want to change a habit to something more beneficial, it's easy to resist that because the shift into it can be uncomfortable, even though it's a more positive choice.
Because those pathways are so embedded. It's like, oh, I've traveled
Our,
down this road all the time, like it's
exactly.
comfortable.
Our neuronal pathways, our whole body's nervous system, we get trained, entrained,
Yeah. We've trained it, whether we
yeah,
like whether we realized it or not.
been trained.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share with our viewers, listeners?
I just want everyone listening to embrace yourself. Don't judge yourself for whatever those experiences are. We go through natural transformations in life. And looking back, I look how much time I wasted when I was younger, being critical of myself and being judgmental of myself, and of course, other people too. I'm, no saint, but just
You and me both.
you know, be kind to yourself, be loving to yourself, and ask for help when you need it.
And then if people are interested in learning more about what you do, how can they find you?
I have a website. It's my name, joyseldon.com, and you see it's Joie. Changed it from Joy to Joie because Joy was too much pressure when I was young. And I do have a book called Emotions and Owner's Manual. Came out of all my own journey and a lot of study and working with clients. It's a workbook. It's informational. It's on Amazon. You can get it in Kindle, Audible, print, whatever. And it's a great resource. It's a great resource to have. So,
And
and if you want to reach
I'll put
out to me, I offer free consultations
that.
for anyone that's interested in learning more. So you can find me through my website.
That's great. And I'll put that in the YouTube notes so people will see that as
Great.
well.
Wonderful.
And so thank you so much for being here and just sharing all your information around like how we may have a little more agency over our experiences.
I love that word, agency.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Uh,
Lovely to be here.
yeah, great. And so thank you all for watching, listening. Please feel free to comment, to share this with others. If you're interested in being a guest, please reach out. I am happy to chat with you. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your day.